If you've been enjoying our podcast as much as we have and hope that we continue past 50 episodes, here's your chance. Here's your chance to help make that happen. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only will you help the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast to live on, but you'll also get exclusive content just for you.
Here's what's in store for you. Join monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask us about anything. Whether it's about our work, personal interests, or advice on your own projects, we're here to connect and share.
Enjoy unique content created specifically for Patreon subscribers, including bonus segments from our shows.
You'll have a say in what we create, and you'll have a voice in future content.
Benefit from exclusive discounts on merchandise and entries into special giveaways. It's our way of saying thank you for your support.
Receive personalized shout-outs in videos, podcasts, or social media posts.
Because your support on Patreon allows us to dedicate more resources to creating the content that you love.
You could join the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast community on Patreon and become a Prairie patron for just $5 a month.
The first 50 new members will get autographed pictures of Allison and me, a signed Living on a Prairie card from Pamela,
and signed book plates for all of our books. Yes, for Confessions of a Prairie Bitch and for Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond.
We thank you so much for your continued support, and we cannot wait to share our ongoing journey with you on Patreon. Stay tuned for our launch date. We are extremely grateful for the support of visitsimiValley.com and the city of Simi Valley's belief in Little House on the Prairie and their support of the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Discover the charm of Simi Valley, California, the home of the Prairie. Visit Simi Valley, where adventure meets history and the spirit of the Prairie comes alive. Explore the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, step aboard Air Force One, enjoy stunning hikes and savor delicious local cuisine. Whether you're here for a weekend getaway or a family vacation, Simi Valley offers something for everyone and is only 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Plan your visit today and experience the best of Simi Valley. Go to visitsimiValley.com for more details. Your adventure awaits in Simi Valley.
Oh, we're on. Sorry, I missed the countdown. Hello, bonnet heads. Maybe I missed the countdown because I'm a little out of practice, I suppose. We've been on a little summer hiatus for a little bit. Hello, I'm Pamela Bob. I'm your host. Welcome. I'm the creator and star of Living on a Prairie. How y'all doing this summer? I am here with our beloved one and only Prairie bitch. That's right, Allison Arngrim. And there she is, looking studious. And also, of course, our hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler. How are you guys? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Yeah, good. Basically good. It's it's funny. Yeah, no, it's a crazy time. It really is, and people. It's like we're so fortunate to be doing what we're doing. But it's so exhausting sometimes.
Yeah, and you're writing a book on top of it, so yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of boy, and yes, and that's yes.
Yes. Enough said.
Yes. Yeah, but so many of the things that are happening now are working their way into the book, so that's sort of that's sort of a good thing from a living the prairie way perspective. It gives me the opportunity to think about, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how I would prefer to be doing it, or what I like about it and what I don't like. It's those kinds of things. It's all good in the big picture. How about you, Allison? You've been busy.
You've been having adventures.
I'm finally getting a little break, I think, because I've done most of my shows for the year. I think I have
two left. Yeah, because
Wow.
I decided, because 2024, as we know, we worked a little bit, all of us, like every freaking weekend till we fell over. So this year I said, let's just stagger things. And of course, still the phone rang off the hook. And it's like, go here, go here, go here, go here, go here. But I just finished my fabulous shows in Provincetown, Massachusetts.
Sounds like it was so much fun.
It was. If I see another lobster roll, I might be sick. I love lobster. I love lobster rolls. But if I eat one more, I will sprout gills and claws.
Yeah.
I was, yeah. P-Town is known for its lobster rolls and its pizza and its ice cream. And I think I'm having a cleanse now after that.
What's the best ice cream in P-Town? I'm just curious.
Oh, I think
What
it's the
did you
ice cream.
like?
I'm biased. I'm going to get in trouble because there's a couple of places that have like homemade ice cream, but I got to the ice cream over at the Nut House candy store, which also has the best nuts and like candy and amazing, and because they have Italian ice as well.
Yeah. Apparently
But
that's
there
a
are
Florida
multiple
thing. I just learned
homemade.
about this. It's the Italian ice layered with ice cream, and apparently that's a real Florida delicacy.
There's like 5 places that have homemade ice cream in Provincetown. It's just like an ice cream orgy. And then the pizza, you pick you fight over which is your favorite pizza parlor there. And then there's the argument over who makes the best lobster roll. I mean, you could literally just do nothing, eat your way up and down the street. It's insane. And then there's
your new BFF, Parker Posey.
Parker Posey,
who I told you was a bonnet head. I told you she was a bonnet head.
You told me.
Because I had met her before.
Parker Posey is going to be there, and you had met her at a party. She's bonnet head. And so what to my wondering eyes appear in my room is Parker Posey. I was staying with Ryan Landry, the famous Ryan Landry, who produces all the shows there and is a Stitch. And so I get there, and Parker's hanging with him. So I reach out to drop my things. And she is delightful. And indeed, we sat having tacos while she grilled me about Little House on the Prairie. I gave her a bonnet, of course, and she picked out a beautiful red one. And later, after this thing we did at the club, we did this promotion at the show, Showgirls, where everybody tells everybody the show they're doing. And she had worn her bonnet, and she somehow misplaced it. And she made our friend Scott take her back to the club and search the place. And when they couldn't find it, they asked the guy who was cleaning up. And he said, oh, I think I may have thrown it in the trash. There's a bunch of stuff on stage. And she made our friend Scott jump into the dumpster to retrieve her bonnet. And I said, what? I knew you could have 100 bonnets. I will get you 100 bonnets. I have. She said, yes, but you didn't have any more of that red one. And I want that color. I want that bonnet. And she got it. And she was just and she's reading my book, and I left a shirt there, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna throw it in the wash, and apparently she ironed it. What are you doing? She's amazing. I mean, we did this whole thing on stage with all of us promoting shows. She's in the corner. She had a whole bar set up and was like making people drinks during the show on the stage. It was hysterical. She loves P-Town and hangs out there and has a bunch of friends there, and loves her some Prairie. Yeah. She's a great gal.
Well, speaking of Prairie, so I started that same week in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at Laura Palooza.
Yeah, how was it
Sioux
this
Falls,
year?
which was I'm always fascinated by the stuff that comes out at this event, the detail that people go to, the passion that people have. Just love it. I think listen to Pamela Smith Hill talk about her new book. She thought she was done with Laura after Pioneer Girl. No, she has another book in her. We need to get a copy,
and it's
picture of the cover of that book.
It's getting really
I'm
good
sure
reviews.
it's terrific. I'm sure it's exactly. I bought a copy. Pamela autographed it for me, so I've got a copy of her book now. And then we went to DeSmet, and we did screenings of Little House Homecoming, and Charlotte, Wendy, and I went to the long winter version of the DeSmet pageant, which it's a new script. I'd seen it. I think I'd seen The Long Winter, and Allison, I feel like you and I saw The Long Winter together a few years ago. Maybe not. Maybe it was another book. They do a different book each year. They do a repertoire.
I don't know if they did Long Winter, but we did see the DeSmet pageant is a whole thing. You got to want to grow pageant. You got to a whole other show.
It's a whole different thing. So anyway, so we saw that, and then we did lots of signings, and it was hot, but we did readings in the cemetery. We did,
Oh, wow.
of fame. Yeah. So they do a cemetery tour.
I hid behind
Lots.
a tombstone.
And did you pop out and like,
They do a cemetery tour where the real people who live there, who were in the books, and since they know that Nellie Olson was based on Genevieve Masters, Stella Gilbert, and Genevieve Masters was the person, I pop up from tombstone. I'm Genevieve Masters, and I got to do this whole thing as Genevieve Masters, who was apparently quite awful, and it was great fun.
So anyway, this was so sure. Allison's been in P-Town. I was in Sioux Falls and DeSmet. We've got a celebration-oriented show to talk about today. Pamela, I think we should get right to it. Let's like take us to the title. Let's go.
We're gonna do it. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna take us to the title, but I will say from the studios of UB and Go in Burbank, California. This is the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast, in case you didn't know. All right, coming up today, we are going to celebrate America. Listen, we took July off and part of August, but we wanted to do something for the 4th of July. I don't know if you guys did anything the 4th of July. I did not, because I was so tired after a rehearsal that I had for the show that I was doing. I went home and conked out, but that's okay. We're going to recap this episode. Dean, do you want to say what it is?
Boy, I think I may have this. I was up so late last night doing these rundowns. I think there are a series of mistakes in here. We may have to check this. But anyway, today's episode, season 2, episode 19, Centennial.
Correct.
I think this is one of those episodes that I had never seen.
And I didn't remember it that well. I hadn't seen it in forever. Yeah.
This episode is prescient in a way that very few Little House episodes are. If one looks at the world we're living in today and you watch Centennial, it is a must-watch. For so many good reasons, you must watch Centennial again. Mm-hmm. It's very, very special. I was really not expecting it. Allison, the program was directed by William F. Claxton and written by John Hawkins, one of Michael's writing mentors back in Bonanza days.
Oh, I didn't know.
So, John Hawkins was a very important presence in Michael's writing life. And Bill Claxton obviously is just off the charts, wonderful directing these episodes. So, Allison, what is Centennial about?
Oh, why, look, there's a description here.
And you can change it if you want to.
I remember this episode well because, I was in it. But that's the thing is, it was 1976, we're having the bicentennial. And so they worked in a lot of things that we were all going through in the 70s. And they're there. And so it still rings. Everyone in Walnut Grove is excited about the upcoming 100th birthday of the United States of America. Aren't we coming up on the 250th? We are.
Yeah.
To commemorate the occasion, the town is planning a community picnic, of course, complete with games, fireworks, and a brand new flagpole. Unfortunately, everyone's spirits plummet in the wake of drastic tax increases, which create problems for hardworking families like the Ingalls. An immigrant family who we never saw before or after, because
they'll
on the immigrant family, the mother and son, Ms. Parra and Ike Eisenman.
That's right. It
Play
was like
another
Eisenman.
Immigrant family in Harriet's Happenings. They're Russian in this one. They're German in Harriet's Happenings.
Yes.
But it's Ike Eisenman. Not only is it Ike Eisenman who plays the little Russian boy and then plays the little German boy, but Lisa Parra plays the Russian lady and then plays the
I had no idea.
That they do that.
I had no idea.
I don't know, but they're both really good at it. I like German, Russian. Yeah, we got it. We can do it. They can. Apparently, they're both capable of being absolutely anybody. Immigrant family you've never seen before or after. Well, we do see after in Harriet's Happenings from a different country. Provide an example of thankfulness and a reminder that freedom isn't free. After a property tax increase leaves most of Walnut Grove in no mood to celebrate. And you have a fun fact, Mr. Shallot. I have many fun facts about Theodore Bikel, who's in
Yes.
this.
Well, I mean, what a treat. I mean, talk about wonderful. Theodore Bikel, such a special actor.
Yes.
Yeah, really special. Another special actor who was making the first of his 2 appearances in Little House, William Shallard. So the noted character actor plays Snell, who is the assessor, I guess. He is the
tax man.
he appears, the tax man. He appears again as Reverend Dean Harmon, a former love interest of Harriet Olsen in the season 6 episode, The Preacher Takes a Wife. I worked with Bill Shallard separately from Little House, and I obviously worked with him during this, or was there. We didn't have scenes together. But, Bill Shallard is an institution on American television, everybody's favorite dad. And I saw him, obviously Patty Duke's dad on the Patty Duke Show, and I worked with him in the new Gidget. He played Gidget's dad.
Wow.
And he was just, talk about Bill Shallard, who always appears to be so buttoned up, has got or had one of the absolute wackiest senses of humor I've ever heard. This guy was off the hook nuts when he, but so, I mean, talk about Bill knew what he played.
Yeah.
He understood what that was and he brought it. But boy, when the camera was off, anything could come out of his mouth. It was really, really funny. He was also a pretty terrific president of the Screen Actors Guild.
Was he?
Before our colleague Melissa Gilbert was president of the Screen Actors Guild.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Go freaking figure.
Yeah.
Now, should I wax about Mr. Bikel?
Yes.
I think we should.
Dad?
Yes.
Holy.
Absolutely.
It's Theodore Bikel, one of the most renowned Broadway actors in the history of Earth. Of course, well known for, Hello, Fiddler on the Roof, who he performed more in that role than any other actor who did Fiddler on the Roof. He's like the Yul Brynner of Fiddler on the Roof. He just did it forever. But he actually, his big start on Broadway was with Indeed in The Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, where he played Captain Von Trapp.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So crazy. He was Von Trapp. I interviewed his widow, Amy. Ginsberg Bikel, on my show, the Alison Arngrim Show, because there is a book that he wrote, and I pull it up. City of Light. I have to pull it up. City of Light. Yes, Amy Ginsberg, and he was promoting his book City of Light, which is about a little boy because he was from Austria, not Russia, and yes, hello Nazis, and absolutely anyone interested in great literature or the Holocaust or Theodore Bikel needs to go read City of Light. Just recommending it, and you can go look up the episode of the Alison Arngrim Show. Where interviewed her. Theodore Bikel was a huge union activist. The stuff he did for charity, for his fellow actors, for working people, off the charts. He founded multiple organizations. And was a huge Broadway star, as well as then a huge movie star, and then TV star. And here he is, in Little House on the Prairie, just playing this Russian dude who works at the mill, who's married to the same woman as the German guy later and has the same kid.
Sure. Details.
For no apparent reason. They just replaced the dad. They got a different dad in that one.
Crazy.
But apparently, like I said, Ike Heisman and Lisa Perot could switch from Russian to German accents without batting an eye, and they just had to do it.
And again, I wonder how did he end up on the show? Like, did he know Michael Landon? Did he did he have a connection to the show? Was it just a random?
I don't have it.
Were they just let's try and see if Theodore Bikel could do this part?
Will he do it?
Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, it's really quite a wonderful story and patriotic in a way that you just don't expect.
Yeah.
As it starts out, you
start
off with this.
Don't think it's a July 4th episode until it's totally a July 4th episode, right?
Yeah, and it's the sort of the, I don't know, as we all go through in the culture, we have our highs and lows in the culture and what's going on in the culture. And here, on the occasion, I thought it was really stunning that Michael chose to do this around the occasion of America's 200th birthday to talk about the downside or the frustrations of citizenship. and do it, and then with everything that was going on in the world in 1976,
Boom.
with all the issues that we have with the economy and uh, well, and relations around the world and so on. And you have this Russian character wonderfully played by Theodore Bikel, who's no one. Another one of those situations, Pamela, that we talk about, and Allison, we talk about all the time, where you have these great characters that we've never seen before and we'll never see again.
He's in the vortex, correct?
Yeah. But such a wonderful vehicle, this character, such a wonderful vehicle to convey this message of,
And 70s, he worked it in, because remember, when the show started in 1974, we were having a gigantic recession, which is interesting because they had one in 1874. There was a thing called like the Panic of 1873, where there was a giant financial crisis, hence why the Ingalls, everything kind of sucked for them in 1874. And so 1974, oh, look, there's the show, and we're having whip inflation now. We were rationing. I could buy gasoline every other day. We had to come sit because odd-numbered license plates, someone didn't even, we're rationing gas. Everything sucked. Hamburger Helper really became famous, really caught its footing in the 70s because that's what people were freaking eating.
Yeah, because you could afford ground beef, right?
You couldn't get meat. I remember we put the plain wrap in the white with the blue label. You could get the plain wrap burger because you might be able to afford that because the price of meat had gone. It was insane. That part of the 70s kind of sucked. We were also, hello, Watergate. We had just come out of Watergate. Everybody was like, what has just happened to our government and our lives? And well, this Gerald Ford guy seems nice enough, but what is happening? And it was just, everything was a mess.
Well, it was the Gerald Ford guy who pardoned Richard Nixon, who was viewed, I think, in retrospect, at the time, I think it was an infuriating decision. I think it was the right decision for the country in the big picture.
Yeah.
But it was a challenging time. I remember sitting in gas lines in 1974. You two probably weren't. You certainly weren't driving at that time. But I remember, boy, the license plates and the numbers on the end license plates, and you could fill up, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. It was all of that going on. Gasoline went from in very short order, from like 25 cents a gallon to over $1 a gallon. I mean, it was, and this was shocking. You'd love to see dollar gasoline. Then that was absolutely horrifying, and the shortage of fuel was stunning for people. This is very allegorical to this moment where this gentleman our Russian friend discovers that his property taxes, he owes 7 years property taxes because he didn't realize when he bought the property that he assumed the tax liability. And so it was shocking to him. And then when everybody starts getting these things, what was so wonderful, Theodore Bikel's choice to play this in a way where he's searching for understanding, a guy who doesn't speak the language, he counts on his son to help guide him through.
And he's studying so hard to
make it work.
So hard to learn to read English and speak English better. I mean, he's really, it's not like he's just letting his son do everything for him. He's really wanting to assimilate and integrate into America. Yeah, sorry, go on.
But it's like the families, many immigrant families, where the kid speaks fluent English because they're in school and winds up being the translator for the family. And this is something millions of immigrant families wind up doing at some point.
Absolutely.
And he didn't read the fine print. His English wasn't good, and he didn't realize it said, "Hi, you just assumed 7 years of taxes," and then everybody else gets screwed too.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, which I think is really wonderful, is the American citizens' reaction to the tax increase,
which everyone ends up getting.
Yes,
right?
Everyone gets it.
We'll talk about
they
that
are
in a minute.
Outraged and furious, and Charles becomes the vehicle for this, the central vehicle for this upset. where he's trying to make, he's always looking to scratch out a living, and suddenly the tax man comes and takes everything out of his pocket, and he's just not feeling like celebrating
Yeah,
the 4th of
patriotic.
July.
Yeah.
And then then you've got Mary and Laura, Mary, who's leading the effort to make the American flag with the 38 stars, but they can't do it at home because Pa's so upset. They've got to take the flag out somewhere else. It and then you've got this man who really is going to lose everything.
Yeah.
It is Petrikov.
Yeah.
I've got it in the notes. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing his name properly. It's a very unusual Russian name. Petrikov. Anyway, he's trying to find understanding in all this, and is grateful because he knows that where he came from, things were so much worse than what he's facing. And the wonderful conversations that were crafted for this, where John Hawkins writes these wonderful conversations between the Russian family and the citizens of Walnut Grove, who are trying to make sense of something that's outraging them, and he's helping them to rediscover their patriotism in time for the 4th of July.
It really is such a
it's
twist.
Pretty great.
Yeah. Because he probably was swindled also. I kept thinking, oh, the previous owner knew exactly what they were doing.
Why would they not at least mention that? They knew it may have been they were the ones who didn't pay it.
Correct.
7 years, not a year, 7 years. And they went, oh, hey, guy who doesn't speak much English, why don't you buy this farm? So yeah, whoever sold them the farm was a horrible person.
Sure.
And it was such an interesting choice of Michael wrote this, right?
No, this is John Hawkins.
John Hawkins. Okay.
Michael, I'm sure, rewrote because he rewrote everything.
No, but I'd be interested to know if John Hawkins, either he or his parents, were immigrants, because right before we started recording, Alice and I both said that this episode made us cry, shockingly. And the reason why it made me cry, emotions. Right.
I'm going to do the same thing.
Crap. Is because it reminded me of my grandparents so much. It was a common conversation at their Bensonhurst apartment, sitting around the kitchen table with my grandmother's homemade, Jewish food, just feeding us. I got so fat as a kid because of my grandmother. But my immigrant grandparents and my grandfather, who was both of them were so traumatized. They escaped, Nazi Europe. Their whole families were dead. My grandfather, who was a Jew, had to fight in the Polish army. It was just awful. And they got over here, and my grandmother, her trauma was fear. She was afraid of everything, fear-based. His trauma, and he was a very joyful, boisterous man. But when it clicked, when it turned, it was anger. It was anger. But always the conversation was America. How this is the best country in the world. How they could never be who they turned out to be. How they could never have the freedoms, the opportunity. And these are people that came here with nothing, and ended up sending their four grandchildren to college while they stayed in their apartment in Bensonhurst. They saved every penny. They worked. My grandfather worked till the day he died. Literally the day he died, he worked. And so this immigrant story of true patriotism, of gratitude, and yes, they were angry or traumatized or whatever, but they never lost hope. And that went on to my father, which is so interesting because you know how it came out in my dad. This is so silly. The the Superman movies, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. My father would bawl at the Superman movies,
really?
Because it embodied patriotism, like that true Americana pride for America, helping the little guy. It's so funny how it comes out, and it happened to be Superman turned out to be like this really important thing in my childhood's life because of patriotism. So anyway, when that end scene of Theodore, and Theodore Bikel says he's not angry and he's not bitter, which he had every right to be, but instead it was just pure gratitude at what they escaped from and what they were able to be here. And that's really what got me. And obviously that's, we're having a crisis in our country now in terms of immigrants, what we think of immigrants, what's happening to immigrants. And we're losing sight that immigrants are truly amongst some of the most patriotic in this country, because they know what this country is about and what they came from.
Yeah.
I know there's the 1974 parallel to this episode, but also watching this show in 2025 and what's going on right now in this country. Holy moly.
In 74, when this thing happened, it was just the tail end. We're just starting to realize we're got to get out of Vietnam. That was just ending Vietnam. It was a giant train wreck. The gazillions of soldiers coming back from Vietnam, completely PTSD. Hence, we had a whole episode about that guy coming back from the Civil War. We had that crisis with everything. And Stephen Ford, Gerald Ford's son, spoke at the Cherry Blossom Festival and talked about his father's decision to pardon Nixon and said he struggled. He was up all night. He was devastated. But he said, he was like, it isn't right, but I have to do this for the good of the country. This is the only way we're ever getting out of this. I have to stop this now. Wow. And didn't want to do it, but wait, I'm going to do this. And people are going to hate me, and I'm just going to fall on my sword. And it was like hard. So it was so the 70s were rough. The 70s were rough, man. And I remember they had to change the signs at the gas station because we didn't have room for 3 digits. Seriously, they had to change the second. It was always 99 cents. What was 99?
So is that why you cried in the episode? Why did you cry watching?
I remember my dad's like, the endless history lessons. Okay, they're showing the flag, and she says 37 stars. And Mary goes, "Oh wait, Colorado's coming in a couple of months, so it's 38." Like, see the endless, fabulous history lessons. The Mrs. Olson going, well, we're okay until she opens her tax bill and getting it right in the face.
She goes, well, you got what you voted for. And then she opens her.
And Nell's fighting. And I remember so well, a few years later, we had Proposition 13 in California, which froze or lowered property taxes. Now, in some cases, they said they lowered them rather severely. And speaking to someone who's in public school who got kind of rooked by that decision, it did kind of cut back on the schools. It was like in many areas, it was rough and cut some money to schools. Richard and Catherine argued about this property taxes on the set in front of me about Prop 13, and it was exactly like in this episode. Catherine was, of course,
what was the argument?
Catherine was pro Prop 13, said absolutely, they should absolutely cut all of the taxes as much as possible. And Richard said, but it goes to the schools. We have to pay some property taxes. And she said, I don't have any damn kids. And they argued over this, and she felt the taxes were fine to cut. And Richard said, but Catherine, we must think of others. We do have to pay for the roads and the schools. So there's going to be a certain amount of breakage here where you're going to have to pay something, because we have a community of people. He sounded like Nels, and she sounded like this. Totally. But so, yes, hearing them talk again about taxes, I was like, oh, but I'm watching it, and yes, here is this immigrant man who got rooked by the guy who sold him the property. And even he says, well, I made a mistake. Like, I didn't read the fine print. It's, that's what, oops. And we're going to move now. But, oh my God, we would have died if we had not come here. And this incredible, which is Theodore Bikel's story, Gosso, is all that. But the Reverend Alden gets up in church. And remember, the whole country's going through upheaval to the point people don't want to celebrate the 4th of July. Yeah. Oh, did we hear any of that this year? Yes, there were. So here he is in church, and they're so upset, which people were in the 70s. And he quotes from Ecclesiastes, where he says, in a day of prosperity, there is a forgetfulness of affliction. And in the day of affliction, there is no remembrance of prosperity. Oh, really? And then he says,
good for you, Allison.
I curse you, Michael Landon and John Hawkins. He says, this evil winter of affliction will pass. And yeah, and they go on about it, and then Bikel goes on about how, these things happen, and the whole discussion of, and Mary goes on a rant about America.
Which was good for me to hear too.
Yeah, and they start talking about the Civil War, and Paul's like, really? Because his brother was in the Civil War. He's like, no, really, do tell. And the two girls,
and she's like, we got through the Revolution, we got through the Civil War. Like, we will get through this.
She goes through every history thing, and he's nodding, going, glad the small children are lecturing me history I lived through. But great, okay, go ahead. And she says, every time this country was in a horrible things happened that tore the country apart, every time we came through better and stronger. So I was already starting to lose it about then. And then when the Reverend Alden said, this evil winter of affliction shall pass, I just sat there and went, shut up.
Hearing those things also is, I think right now, today, it feels so hopeless on many levels. And you want to believe in that hope that we will come back from this, and we will be better, and we will be stronger, and we will be wiser, and we will be united, and blah, blah, blah. And, when you're in the midst of the chaos, it feels so impossible. But Mary's speech was an absolute reminder of, hey, we've been through so much. I mean, and you even just saying it, which I completely forgot, which is dumb on my part, of in 1974, like we were still in Vietnam, like we have been through so much, and it did make me go, okay, maybe we are going to get through this, and the hope is that we will be better for it. Mm-hmm. That is the hope.
The what I loved about, I did not cry during the episode.
I was so surprised. I started crying. It was right at the end there, man.
I have multiple episodes I cry over, for the record. I do cry over Little House of the Prairie.
But I was moved by the way that the episode was crafted so presciently to remind viewers of who we are as a people, at what our country was, the principles on which our country was founded. It's a reminder of that. And we don't know, we really can't know what's going to happen, but we have to be optimistic. We have to try and be optimistic that we are going to come back to some level of balance in our thinking about these issues. I mean, we don't want to get political here, but if you pay attention to the polling, the politics may be one thing, but people are not liking the way this is all going now. Yeah. I mean, not that everybody, there are a lot of people who do like it, sure, no question. But there are on a percentage basis many more people who are looking at the way things are going right now and not happy about it. And if we can, rather than burn it down, if we can remind ourselves of who we are, and I think episodes like this is just such a perfect episode for now. If we can be reminded of the best of what we are as a people, as a country, as an ideology, as a way of viewing humanity, it's there. And look, Centennial's not going to turn the ship of state, obviously, but it's a nice reminder.
It sure is
for us to think about.
It sure is, and it was a reminder that I didn't even know I needed. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right?
It hit me like a ton of bricks.
And this is Bob often takes it because Bob is older than I am, and I go, wow, everything is in turmoil and everyone is at each other's throat. And this happened. He's going, I'm sorry. I know you were a child in the 60s and you did watch the news and you were definitely, but I was a grub. My friends who went to Vietnam, I was an adult in the 60s. We had Kent State, anyone. Hello. He's like, hi, I was alive for all of this. I was there for all of this. And he says the things that this country has survived and come out the other side of. He says, just having trouble with the idea of, well, everything has gone to hell again. He's like, no. And Bob has almost given me the speech Mary Ingalls did of, yes, and look at all the things that we've been through, and we came out better. And Mary Ingalls is right, and so is the Reverend Alden. And yes, I did. I've cried at several episodes of Little House. I actually do. The raccoon's the one that always gets me. But,
I know, raccoon, her number one.
But I've watched this and went, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. This had to have reduced people to sobs in 1974, and I think that it should make people cry now. And it is a fabulous episode about what are the principles of our country and why do we... Politics is temporary. America is hopefully eternal.
Yeah, and it's not blind patriotism either. It's not just like, love your country no matter what. It's
exactly.
It's not that. It's, we have problems. We have
Let's talk about that. Let's take a quick break.
When we come back. We're going to take a quick break, everybody. We'll be right back.
The Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast is presented in part by VisitSimiValley.com. In the movie and television capital of the world, Simi Valley is the television home of the OG Little House on the Prairie television series, and people come to Simi Valley from all over the world to feel the Little House love. Simi Valley is the home of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, celebrating the legacy of an iconic American who embodied the can-do spirit of California. Visit Simi Valley, a warm, friendly community that knows how to make their guests feel welcome. Accessible and affordable, Simi Valley is a great place to live and a great place to start your next California adventure. Simi Valley is hometown America in the Los Angeles Basin. For more information about your Simi Valley visit, go to visitsimivalley.com.
Hi, everybody. We're back. Allison, you wanted to give us some good fun facts.
History. Like I said, good old Meriwether. It's 37, but it'll be 38 with Colorado. Indeed, the Russians who came to the U.S., we are more familiar with the Russians who came later, various pogroms or various immigrants after World War II. But who came in the 1870s? That seems kind of early, not even World War I.
No, not even.
But
not even the Russian Revolution.
Yeah,
right.
Civil
War.
After the Tsar. Nope. Wait a Civil War. So why were the Russians here? Absolutely. Russians did come to the U.S. because there were various pogroms and purges and terrible things in the 1800s. And in the 1870s, there were an enormous number of, Russian Jews, which it kind of looks like this family might be, but this family's in Minnesota, so you know who they probably are, the huge wave of Russian Mennonites and Anabaptists.
Yes, I had assumed that they were Russian Jews until they did the prayer at their dinner table, and then they did the cross. And I went, oh.
Just as the Jews fled persecution in Russia during that time period, the Mennonites and Anabaptists were also being persecuted for their beliefs and came in droves. And there's a whole thing where it talks about which states they tended to settle in. And when you get out there on the prairie, it's the Mennonites and Anabaptists from Russia, which is probably what they were.
Wow. Good one, Allison.
The more you know.
Seriously.
No, there's no question. This is and Allison, that's a wonderful factoid.
Yeah, it's really good, Allison.
Thank you for sharing that. This is such an important aspect of our culture today, where there is this movement to erase our history.
That's right.
So that we are not accountable to our history anymore. There's this desire to sweep the slate clean because maybe the history is a little uncomfortable, so we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
The history is an opportunity for us to better understand ourselves, where we've been and where we're going.
Right, including the Little House on the Prairie books, which this new book talks all about, of why it's still really important to read these books, especially as children, because it does show the ugliness of some of the American experience. And we have to learn from that. We have to.
Well, I think here's the thing. I think we have learned from it. We haven't learned from it. It's not a clean sweep.
Yeah.
Learn from it. But as a culture, we are far more conscious about things in terms of our human relations with each other than we were in the 1880s.
Yeah.
Far more so. and or the 1930s when Laura wrote these books.
Oh my God, yes. Well,
Let's
I mean,
let's
and
take advantage of that. Let's appreciate the teaching moments that exist here. Let's not cleanse it. Let's talk about it because
Little
we
House has
get
never
better.
shied away. Never shied away from history. The Wisdom of Solomon with Todd Bridges, the Soldier's Return.
Right,
We did not shy away from
right.
unfortunate things in history where mistakes were made and we screwed up and how we got through it. Those episodes were some of the best episodes of Little House when they looked at our history and said, "Oh wow, guess what? In the 1870s, do you know what happened? This happened," and we talked about it on the show.
None of I just would say of all these episodes that we've written about in terms of thematic things in episodes that reverberate today, I don't think there is no episode of the series, in my opinion, that reverberates stronger on America today than Centennial.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very powerful. I mean, if you are a Little House lover, you need to watch Centennial and think about it, and think about what it means. There's a lot of good here to be considered.
I mean, again, in our notes, Dean, we have the major themes which completely correlate to today, which is patriotism versus dissent. And dissenting also can mean patriotism.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Economic burdens and civic disillusionment. Ding, 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 ding. Hello. And the role of the outsider, of the immigrant. These are all things that we are all dealing with now. And it always seems like we progress, and then there are a few steps backwards.
Sure.
And that seems to be just what human beings do, right? This isn't a one-off. This happens over and over and
Right.
over and over.
Right.
And we just happen to be in a place where the outsider, the immigrant, is being demonized now. And which, again, sort of completely ignores what this country was founded on.
Right.
And it is a truly, I said in my notes, it was a really interesting episode to watch right now because there are so many of us that feel hopeless.
Let's not
And
feel hopeless.
so many of
Pamela.
us that had a hard July 4th this year. And I appreciated.
Did you have a hard July 4th?
I had a conflicted July 4th this year.
Okay.
I felt as much I love this country, but I don't know what it's turning into right now. It's turning into what my grandparents ended up fleeing from. And it's very conflicting, and not conflicting in the sense of the love for my country, but what I am watching right now is things that my grandparents told me about that I never thought in a million years could possibly happen in this country today, ever.
I agree.
And so it's so multi-layered of your ancestral history, many people's family histories, ancestral histories of coming to this country and why they came to this country, the patriotism in that, but seeing what's happening here, which is a direct parallel to things that happened 50, 75, 100 years ago,
Right.
is terrifying. And I think it's so easy for us to feel hopeless because it feels like we are so out of control. It feels like all of these things are happening and we can't do anything about it. And that's what it has been feeling like. And that there's no accountability and that there's no justice and that we are the people, but the representatives aren't representing us. It is so loaded right now. And this episode just took me so by surprise. Those last 10 minutes of this episode were
That's the episode. That is the episode.
That's it
It's the
right
last
there,
10 minutes. Yeah.
And it was
It's
a
all the
great
wind up to
reminder.
that last 10 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just feel like this entire country should be watching this episode.
I think so too, Pamela. Allison, added a lot here. Anything interesting for you on the 4th of July? I made ice cream on the 4th of July. I made peppermint ice cream, fresh banana ice cream, and chocolate chip ice cream, hand cranking with the salt and the ice and doing all that. And so our 4th of July, and we had our Red Devil fireworks, and we did all that. So it was a very much sort of 40 for 4th of July celebration. It was a nice evening. Lots of dishes to do, but I wasn't so much thinking about all the other things. Allison, how about your 4th of July?
Well, I made potato salad. I make great potato salad. I made potato salad, and we got out the Ballpark Frank's turkey, of course, and fired up the grill. In the tradition of my father before me, who was one of the great barbecuers of all time. And absolutely hot dogs and potato salad and beer. Nice. And from up here, you can see all the fireworks, all of them.
Oh,
both legal. And you can see the legal shows. And of course, it's Tahunga, so everybody just sets stuff on fire, which is a terrible idea. Because we have the Angeles National Forest is like over there. So stop lighting off the illegal fireworks. One of the worst, best 4th of Julys ever was the 4th of July of 2020. It was awful. They canceled all of the good fireworks shows, the good legal ones. So everybody just decided to go set off their own. And a lot of people said in 2020, well, world's coming to an end. And proceeded to go out in their yard, legal or illegal, fire hazard or no, and set everything off at once. So it was quite a show from my patio. Come on, just stuff flying through the air. And they also knew nobody was coming because all emergency services were busy. So they went, are the cops going to come? Nah, not really. No. And I was like, well, I guess it's a show of patriotism of sorts. But I was pleased. People had parties and barbecues and set stuff off because, as I said, America, that's eternal. That's the big picture. People are focused on, small, you got to go big picture. Yeah. There are people who've publicly stated that they would like to dismantle everything and burn it down and start over. And they've said, and I'm going, no, I don't want to do that.
No.
That's not what I want to do. I actually want to live here.
Yeah. And make it better. And that is patriotism, which is dissenting in order to make things better and fairer or more just, and to fulfill the American promise.
That's a great place to end, Pamela.
Well, who knew I was so poetic,
We knew.
Behind the crass humor, there's, a sensitive heart. Anyway, I hadn't watched this episode in years, and I hadn't remembered so much of it. And so this was such a beautiful surprise watching this episode. And I'm so glad we did it, even though we missed airing it on July 4th, actually. But I'm still glad we're doing it.
It needs to be this episode
every year.
And we need to watch it all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Isn't next year the 250th
birthday
of America?
Yeah, and we were so blessed by the wonderful Theodore Bikel, who made a wonderful contribution. Thank you, Michael, for putting this man in this position to tell this story. Just this warm, beautiful heart expressing these ideas was such an important, powerful, and meaningful thing to watch. Yeah. So really, really fun.
All right, folks, that's our show today. Taxes, the American dream. I was like, we're going to talk about that.
Gotta pay taxes to get roads. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Taxes, they suck. Yeah. I pay them.
Exactly. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We're so happy to be back. Join us on our socials, Little House 50 Podcast, or on our website, littlehouse50podcast.com. We will have all future Little House events and everything coming up in our show notes, or if you visit the website and our socials, they're all up there. Anyway, hope you guys all had a great July 4th, and we will see you next time. Bob, go get the wig. Let's fly. With the American flag.